Hi, I'm Richard Garrison. This is my work at the regional. It's titled Substitution Color Schemes, March 18th through June 26th, 2020, Walmart grocery pickup. I grew up not too far from here, so I was born and raised in Albany, New York. I went to the College of St. Rose for my Bachelor of Science in Art, and then went on to Cornell University for my MFA in painting. And currently, right now, I'm teaching two-dimensional design at Hudson Valley Community College and a conceptual drawing class at the College of St. Rose. So this work was something that I started during the quarantine, and it was a period where there was a lot of reflection in terms of what am I doing, why am I doing it, and a lot of my work is based on domestic, ordinary, everyday kind of things that you usually overlook, and also consumer elements as well. And so a lot of my previous work is based on weekly ad flyers that come out from big box stores. And all of a sudden, they were not printed anymore. And all the grocery shopping that I normally do, all the normal things that everyone normally does, all of a sudden it just ended. It just stopped. So our family decided to start doing all of our grocery shopping through the Walmart grocery online service, where you go in, you select what you want on an app, and then you go pick it up. And so it was very different because I really enjoy grocery shopping. It's one of those things that I've done a lot of work based on my actual grocery shopping, and all of a sudden it was like everything was so disconnected, and it was so uncertain and basically disorienting. And so with this Walmart grocery app, you go on, and we never really did it before. We just started during the quarantine, so it was fairly new to us. You go on and you see little pictures of the things that you want, and you select them, you submit it, you pick a date to pick up the groceries. And then the day that you go pick up your groceries, you get an email, in this case from Walmart, and it tells you like what you're actually getting, what you ordered and what you're actually getting or what isn't available. And of course, there was a lot of very standard things that were not available, especially early on in March and April. But there was a lot of substitutions that were made, and that was something that was just, was really kind of unusual at first and frustrating. You order one thing and you get something else. And a lot of the substitutions, they weren't like really big changes. Sometimes they were very minor, almost like you wouldn't even know. But after a while, instead of being just frustrating, it was something that I kind of started seeing a humor in it, and it really kind of started to, I see, like reflect the times. It reflected this kind of element of uncertainty, of like not really knowing what you're going to get, but you basically got what you kind of needed. You got to what you could get by with. After a while, I just, all the substitutions that were coming in, it was something that it kind of struck me as something that it just reflected a lot about the time. And it wasn't anything it wasn't like the real serious gravity of what was going on. It was a real kind of microcosm of the whole thing that was going on. But it still, to me, it was very personal. And I felt that it spoke of how I was feeling and the whole experience. The whole grocery shopping thing was kind of like playing the lottery. You really didn't know what you were going to get or what was going on or what was going to happen. So after a while, I started, I had a collection of all these substitutions. And I think it wasn't until I got one that was, let me point to it right over here, where we ordered some pub cheese. And we ended up getting, instead of pub cheese, we got a Gournay cheese that was garlic and fine herb. And I granted, they're both soft cheeses, so I guess I understand but it was a little puzzling at first in terms of, how did they get from pub cheese to that? So that's when I really started clicking of like, oh, okay, these are kind of interesting, because a lot of my work, my previous work is related to systems and chance. And so all of a sudden now, this kind of like not being in control or being quite in control of what I was going to get in terms of grocery shopping, it became quite interesting to me. And so I started to think about, well, how can I document this? And that was really kind of like one of the main goals was like, I really wanted to like document something about this particular time, however small it was. And so I looked at a lot of Joseph Albers paintings, who works with colors and formality and arranging of colors. And he had a series in particular where there's like two rectangles that are kind of like side by side, and one's a little bit wider and one's a little bit narrower. And it always intrigued me. They're a little different from most of his work. And there was just something about the way that they were still balanced, but they were irregular in the picture plane that really served as kind of like an inspiration in terms of how I wanted to compare the two things. And so each of these has an image or a collection of colors on the left and the right. And on the left-hand side is what we ordered on the app. And then on the right-hand side was what we received. And I worked on a lot of studies in terms of laying out the particular way to match the colors. Most of my work is related to color observations. And what I normally do is, I look at weekly ads or landscapes, and I basically distill the items down into color. And that's what's here. So all of the colors that you see are based on the images that are on the Walmart grocery apps. So I would look at the item that was ordered on the Walmart grocery app and basically try to match every single color that I could observe within that image for both the ordered and the received. Like for example, this one here was Life cereal. And what it is, we ordered a giant size box, and we ended up getting a large size box. And then over here, this was eggs that we ordered, large white eggs. And so I ordered an 18 count. I ended up getting a 12 count, but the containers were very similar. Little things like that. And also the colors were also, I always find that there's a lot more to the images once I start looking at them. Like you look at for the eggs, for example, you say, oh, it's just like this kind of like blue-green. And then the more you look at it, you start seeing all the values and, oh, there's a little bit of shadow, a little bit of this, a little bit of that goes into it. And so there's a lot of variation, a lot more variation than I think. And that's one of the reasons, I never knew what the composition was going to be. I tried to count the colors the best I could before I started. But in terms of when you finally start matching the colors, you start seeing things that you didn't see initially, and how the two relate, it really varied. But these are all in order. So the first one on the top left-hand side, that's those first couple are from our first order, and that was March 18th. And I think that was just a day or two right after Governor Cuomo made the stay-at-home order. And it runs all the way through June. And some of the items here, like this last one was like a Lysol kind of cleaner. And once things really started happening, you couldn't buy a lot of stuff online. It was like impossible to get. So I think it was kind of like a fitting way to end at least this particular grouping with something that I tried getting all through the time, and it finally was acquired at the end. So they all have like little stories, and I tried to I didn't try to put brand names in or anything too specific. But it's enough where you may make a color association, and there's a lot of like real basic things like bread, cheese, eggs, milk, soap. There's a couple little desserts or a little kind of, I wouldn't say fancy, but something a little bit. We tried to be a little bit more fun with the food, but overall it's a document of grocery shopping over a few months, and what we ordered and what we received. So I think that's about it.